Buenos dias. I'm Sergio Perez, and I'm as surprised to find myself at the top of this podcast as you are.
Hello, welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed, brought to you by the combined technology of the Android operating system and the iPhone operating system, which is called what? iOS? What do they call it?
Just iOS.
I should explain that. When we come to record this programme, to make sure we don't talk forever, we have a little stopwatch running. And to get the angle right on the stopwatch, my phone, which is an Android, is leaning on Richard's phone. We've heard from Zog. We'll now hear from Richard. Hey Richard, how you doing?
All right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Enjoying the Formula One season.
Yeah, 2 races in. Pretty good.
Two races in 2 weeks.
Pretty good.
What's that from?
Curb
Curb Enthusiasm.
You see, you guys watch more television than me.
Probably, yeah.
Actually, you probably watch different.
Just very
television
select
to
about
me.
what
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
very
imagine you watch the Tweenies or something, do you? No,
It's
your
mostly
boys have outgrown that now.
Clone Wars these days.
Really? I don't even
That
know what
must
that
be-
is.
Just look at the amount of Lego in the house and
I
how
think
Star
it's
Wars
ghastly
related
Star
it
Wars
is.
spin-off.
Yeah.
I'm sort of secretly hoping by the time that I have children that your boys will have outgrown Lego, although you kind of prove that there's no such thing.
Nobody
You might do
outgrows
what happened
Lego.
to me when I was a kid, that friends of my parents gave them massive buckets of Lego. So we were quite well Legoed up when I was a lad, but it was passed on to someone else. I'd love to have lots of Lego in the house. I could happily amuse myself playing with Lego for a long time, but there's no Lego in my house.
Trouble is with Lego, it's worse than sex, drugs and rock and roll. It keeps you up till 4 o'clock in the morning making models if you get an idea.
Yeah.
It really does.
Great stuff, Lego.
Hey, so you know I built a Lego Ferrari. Maybe I was unfair in the way that I criticised it, said it looked like a that wouldn't go like a car. It won the second race of the season. How did that happen?
Well, I wish I could tell you, but the problem was I'm not a morning person. I got up stupidly early to watch the Malaysian Grand Prix, watch the start of the race, and I'm stretched on the sofa bed at this point. When they red flagged the race, I thought I'll just close my eyes. I'll just get a little
fatal.
kip for a couple of minutes.
That's it.
I woke up. Alonso's winning. Perez is in second place. How did that happen?
I don't know how that. Do you remember?
I don't know. You see, I almost did the same thing as you. I almost had a little. I thought I'll go back to bed.
Yeah, a little
this red flag is going to drag on for ages. I'll go back to bed. But it's fatal because you can't unless you set an alarm. But then how do you know? How
I know. How long did you set the alarm for? Yeah,
I went for
know.
a nap this afternoon, funnily enough, because I enjoy a nap, and I felt I'm at home, I can do this sort of stuff. I went for an hour nap. I walked into the bedroom, my cat was there, and I got into the bed. The cat looked at me like, "What the hell are you doing?" As I said to him, I'm talking to my cat now. I was like, "You do this all day. This is what you do. Don't jip me for doing this. This is your job. Just because I'm doing it, you nap all the time, you idle bastard."
Yeah. There is an explanation for this. Violet Berlin has just walked in the room. V?
Yeah.
Will you come over and explain the spirit of sleep? I know we're supposed to be talking about Formula One, but we are in a way. Do you remember Leon and the spirit of sleep?
Cats have the spirit of sleep about them. So if you've got a cat in the room, you instantly feel sleepier. And if you want to usher the spirit of sleep, you just, sit near a cat.
They carry it
or
with them.
A couple of sleepy people together. It's like yawning, isn't it?
It's funny because I was watching something on TV last night. We'd been out for dinner with a mate, and just down the road, we came in. We were watching something on telly, and there was a sequence where a character in this show we were watching just had a baby, was very tired, and just fell onto the bed. And as soon as I saw that, the very action of going, falling onto the bed, made me feel very tired all of a sudden. But then cats carry sleep with them. But I read something once that said, now a person needs, opinions vary, but 7-8 hours sleep a night.
12.
Well,
in my case.
But what can we deduce from this?
Well, this is the thing. I don't know. I think different people need different amounts of sleep anyway. But they claim that a cat needs 18 hours sleep in a 24-hour period. Now,
really?
How do they know?
Did they
cats. Wake the cat up and go, "Are you still tired?" Now, cats are very lazy, so the cat's going to have said, "Yeah, I am actually. Leave me alone for a bit longer." You can't trust a cat to tell you whether it's tired or not because they're idle. They're incredibly idle.
Yeah.
So what this tells us is that the TV coverage of the Grand Prix needs to have a cat on screen every time one of those red flags goes up. And then when you fall, a loud hooter.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know
That's what I needed.
They crank
an air horn.
Well, you know how they crank crank the volume up for the adverts. They say they don't, but they do.
They do.
Yep.
Well,
Yes.
they could use that same technique, couldn't they? Suddenly, everything could get
So
much
hang on,
louder.
what about
That's what I
also they
needed.
put on the screen the air horn sound, and then when you wake up, the first thing you see is an animal that is the converse of the cat. It doesn't have the gift of sleep. I'm trying to think what the most hyperactive animal would be. I don't know, like a meerkat or a gopher or something.
Meerkats
It's
are very
They're
intense.
very,
aren't they?
very highly strung, aren't they? Just
A giant ant, can ants scurry? If you saw a giant ant filling the screen, that would scare you. You'd be getting a flashback to...
Ant Davison. A giant Ant Davidson. That would scare you because he's tiny next to that iPad, isn't he?
Well, even if
on
that's,
Sky?
that's just an iPad as well.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
that small.
He's very
But
small.
quite seriously, in the future TV coverage of the Grand
the
Prix
future.
would have, there's a red flag, the cat comes on, the volume goes down, gradually lessens
Yeah.
as all that palaver
Yeah,
goes on and
yeah.
people are filling for nonsense. Then suddenly...
How did it come to be that Perez was second in that race? How did Alonso win that
Alonso
race?
jumped Hamilton in the pit stops, didn't he? Because Hamilton had a rather lousy stop. He got held up for other people who were coming in. There was
Yeah.
a problem with the jacks. He was slow out of the pits. Button managed to cause some of his own problems by running to the back of Carter Kayan.
It must be hard not to run into the back of Carter Kayan, though.
Well, apparently.
They're going so slow. The speed differential is
Yeah.
just... That 107% rule is there for a reason, to prevent situations like that from happening. And it must be hard when a car's going so slow. They come up on you far more quickly than you expect.
You'd have to say, on the one hand, that Button got it wrong. You know, he made a mistake and it was his fault that that happened. But that said, those are incredibly difficult conditions to get it right in, and that's the kind of thing that happens in those conditions.
Because Carter Kayan also had a bit of a moment with Vettel, which,
Yes, he did,
again,
yeah.
you wouldn't, if you were being very fair, you wouldn't say it was really Carter Kayan's fault totally, but it's just that car's slow and other drivers are coming up at it at a walloping pace and then probably thinking, oh no, it's a back marker and he's going to dither in my way, and he's not got many options. They're probably on him before he even knows
And
it.
you don't always know exactly where he's going to dither, if that's the case.
We
So,
shouldn't complain
yeah.
about this, though, because it is part of the rich tapestry of Formula One that you need, you know, a very close race at the front end of the grid and at the back end of the grid, a wild card, you know, something that's unpredictable, because we have the blue flags, which is supposed to even things up and sort of manage that situation, but you need the random factor. Do you remember Bernie a few years ago was talking about randomly spraying the track with sprinklers, you know, to give that sudden change of grip that the Malaysian race now has, because it's so late in the day. After 4 o'clock in Malaysia, you get rainstorms. I know, I've been there enough to experience it. And so he must be, in a way, happy that his idea for a perfect Formula One is happening because they're in Malaysia, but it's almost got to the point where they can't race in Malaysia at this time of the day. Do you know what I mean now? Maybe they should bring the race an hour earlier. Or do you like the unpredictability of a slow HRT and the Malaysian weather?
It's interesting because whilst the idea about turning sprinklers on at random is just a bit too Mickey Mouse, when the same thing is done by nature, then it's interesting
Yeah.
and it makes for a more interesting race.
Although I think Bernie probably has some control over God as well and the weather, doesn't he? He can do that, can't he?
I think he bought out God a few years ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
got
think
the better
God
part of the
had
deal,
installed
certainly, yeah,
himself.
yeah.
God had bought the rights to the weather during motor racing from Bernie, but
Then Bernie
couldn't
managed
manage
to
it.
sell them back to
He
him.
bought it back from
Oh,
him.
Something
yeah,
he already
yeah.
owned.
Yeah.
Had a, well,
He's leasing them back to God, yeah. That's
plus ça
working.
change.
Yeah. Is that a sketch moment?
It feels like it probably.
Bernie, it's God. Did you make it rain in Malaysia again?
Might have done.
Oh, Bernie.
Look, I've told you. If you want to get back control of the weather, you'll have to pay me $500 million.
I don't have that sort of money, Bernie.
Well, God, perhaps we could do some sort of deal.
What did you have in mind?
Let me think. Ah, yes. You know my daughters?
Yes?
They're costing me a bloody fortune. Could you have them crucified?
I think I'll have to join a very long queue.
Yes, Central! We beat Gareth Jones on speed!
The Malaysian Grand Prix was notable not just because Flaming Alonso won. How unpopular was that in this house?
Really? You know, I mean,
Fair play to him, come on.
I'm a massive
Makes us
Alonso fan, but I always respect the fact that
He's a great driver.
never deny
Yeah.
he's a good driver. He's a great driver, in fact. And at the risk of sounding like a Formula One driver, he did a good job. And he did.
Took the opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You can't take it away from him. Irritatingly, you can't take it away from him.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But Perez coming second, that was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And on merit as well, not just luck. He drove a great race, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. He had a little bit of luck in that would never have happened if it had been a dry race. But he made it on merit. And fantastic to see a Mexican driver on the podium for first time since Pedro Rodriguez would have, I guess, first.
Apparently so.
Is
There
that
were a
right?
couple of
Yeah,
things
yeah.
I can't
Who
remember.
was also very good in the wet.
And wore a deer stalker, someone pointed out on Twitter that I had to mention.
And he lived in Bray, and he always carried a bottle of Tabasco with him.
You've said this on the programme
I
before,
thought that
yeah,
was
yeah.
Gaston Mazzacane who carried the Tabasco with him. Was it?
No,
not?
that was pepper
Rodriguez.
spray.
Pepper, so yeah.
No, that was Gasho.
Gasho, but
Gasho.
Yeah, who had a
Yeah.
pepper spray on.
Yeah.
So we've gone
Cab
way off
driver.
topic
Oh,
there,
yeah.
haven't we?
Yeah.
Perez,
Yeah.
who is a better driver than I think we all gave him credit for, because I think the measure of any driver is how well they do in the wet. And the best Mexican driver I've ever seen was Salvador Duran, and I will say his name correctly.
Salvador Duran.
Who drove in A1 Grand Prix for Mexico, and he won at Laguna Seca in the most treacherous wet conditions.
Yeah.
And I always thought he should get a Formula One driver in the back of that. But Perez has got the Telmex sponsorship now. Is he going to replace Massa, Richard Porter?
Well, we can but hope.
Hey!
Oh, poor old
yeah.
Massa. Just give up. I don't know what's happened, but his mojo has left the building, and it's just
true, yeah.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Top flight team like Ferrari. And now it turns out that car isn't maybe as hopeless as we thought. I mean, it's still it looks like a total mutt.
I think they were lucky.
It's not a great car. I mean, they were lucky for Alonso to take the win as he did. The thing is, Massa's just doing so badly compared to his teammate.
Well, it's always the mark of a truly, truly brilliant Formula One driver is that they extract everything from even an awful car. Mm-hmm. And Alonso proves much so. He's a treacherous
he's capable of doing
He's also a fabulous driver. So.
If you're going to put someone in a mediocre car, put someone like Alonso in it.
Yeah, but is Massa going to go at some point? Who knows?
You'd like him to.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, actually, no, I wouldn't, because it gives me a great deal of capital to be horribly, horribly cruel about him on Twitter over a race weekend. But, yeah, I think he needs to get out, because it would be interesting to see. Well, I was going to say, it'd be interesting to see what Perez can do in a really good car, but the Ferrari doesn't seem to be a really good car, and the Sauber is, as Saubers often are, probably quite serviceable.
It seems like, at least under these kind of conditions, the chassis and the aero aren't that far off the Ferrari. But as far as Massa goes, I don't think they're going to be in a terrible rush to get rid of him, because with the car not being at its most spectacular, I'm not sure that they really want to throw another spanner into the works by kicking out one driver halfway through the season. I'm sure Massa will make it to the end of the season.
They could put a Spaniard in the works by bringing a Mexican in. It's a little pun there.
Isn't Roger Moore?
In the style of Roger Moore. Isn't Felipe Massa married to Rob Smedley, though, now? He calls him baby. Does that not make them married?
They have a little boutique that they run in the off-season.
Really?
It's a sitcom in the making. Sort of a slightly bluff northeastern bloke and a rather fragile, baby-faced man from Brazil. It's just...
What are they selling?
It's a brilliant odd couple. Just push rods, because I don't need them anymore.
Hey! Very good. Very droll.
But on the sort of Massa Perez thing, do you go for the conspiracy theory that there was anything in that message?
I have to admit, I did tweet before it happened.
There's no reason to invoke the conspiracy.
Yeah, I did tweet before it happened that if Perez passes Alonso, Sauber will lose their Ferrari engine supply. But that was just me being facetious and cheeky, because you can on Twitter, unless you're talking about football and you're a Welsh racist, in which case you get 56 days in jail. Be careful, tweeters.
Facetious and incitement to racial violence.
Yeah, be careful what you're thinking, never mind what you're saying. So, no, I don't believe that was anything to do with it. What it would have got them in terms of sponsorship from winning a race, it was worth them risking a Ferrari engine supply.
I don't think it was...
He was just pushing himself hard. He lost it. Fair play. Great. Good on him.
Yeah.
Easily done.
Is he going to replace Massa at the end of the season, though? Because Ferrari and Sauber do have a relationship. Remember, where was Massa before he was at Ferrari? He could go back there. Sauber.
But Perez has an association with Ferrari, doesn't he? He's been part of their young drivers programme, I believe.
Yes.
So there's still more reason to believe that he's one of the people who they're lining up as a possible replacement. Yeah, he's got to be a favourite.
And also, they could just send Massa to their Ferrari surplus drivers programme. It's
a
home. Just a home in Maranello.
Luca Badoa
sometimes stays
there. Drivers.
Luca Badoa, Giancarlo Fisichella even is there.
Yeah.
Amazingly.
They sit with rugs over their laps watching the races on a Sunday. And
drinking John and Lacey's wine.
Yes.
Hey.
Actually sounds quite idyllic.
It does. I think it would be quite... Yeah, I can go for that.
Another glass of wine, Nigel?
Yes, that would be slightly agreeable in the circumstances, John.
A good race, I thought.
Very acceptable race, Gerhard. Very acceptable. Of course, it would have been better if I was in it.
Well, you always say that, Eddie.
It's true, Alan, so it is.
And the number of world championships you've won is... Oh, yes, that's right. 0.
Hey, guys, I'm back. What time does the race start?
You have missed the race completely. Luca, you are too late again.
Get the door, Luca, old son. The door over there, mate, the one you just came in through. Hey, guys, there is someone here to see us. Well, aye. Hey, right there, son.
Come in, Mr. Massa. We have been expecting you.
Gareth Jones on speed.
Richard, how did you get here tonight? Did you taxi it?
I did. I got a taxi, from that cab firm I was talking about the other week with their prices. I think they reserve the hybrid fleet for North London where people care about such things, because I called the same firm to get into town a few Fridays ago and I said I'm going to central London and like sort of a bit of a grotty bit of the West End, and they sent a Vectra.
Oh,
yeah, so they're keeping the Prius fleet for Islington and Stokey.
Every time I had to get to Stokey or Islington. This evening was a beautiful evening, and I was coming down the main street here near where you live, and there was a girl in a lovely sort of floaty summery dress pushing a bicycle, and I thought, yes. And I thought, oh, she's a pretty girl. And she looked back and she saw me, I think, looking out of the car, but I don't think she thought, disgusting sex pest in his foul planet-killing taxi. She thought, oh, he's in the back of a Prius. Well, that's okay then.
Welcome to Stoke Newington.
I'm sure you were leering very nicely.
I hope so. I'd like to think so. I don't know. Do you ever notice when you get to that certain age, perhaps, where you just become a bit of a sex-pesty man rather than just a sort of, hello, my dear.
Hey,
well.
It's been my problem for about 20 years now, mate, I'm telling you. But my reason for asking you that was to find out if you had to queue to buy petrol on the way here. So you drove here too?
I did drive here. I didn't stop for petrol, although I did notice that the Esso station on Camden Road seemed to be quite busy.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
The petrol station near me looked really busy as well. And I just thought, really? Is it necessary? Are people really going in and brimming their cars? It's a bit selfish. You're just hoarding something you don't necessarily need.
Yeah.
I don't really know how much petrol's in my car at the moment. I can't remember. I think it's about half a tank, but it's fine. I know the light's not on.
Good for about 3 months in it, Fiat 500, isn't it? Half a tank?
Oh, no, well, the 500, I don't know, because my wife's driving that at the moment, so it's her responsibility. But the XJR...
Half a tank will get you to...
the end of the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
I don't know.
But at the point at which we're recording this programme, there is a lot of talk about the possibility of a fuel delivery drivers' strike. Is that what it is? I don't even know.
It's delivery drivers' strike, yeah.
And so we're all slightly worried. I'm worried because I'm off up to North Wales next week. And I've organised a car with Mercedes, actually, and we're going to deliver a particularly frugal car which would be kind of useful in case I get to North Wales and there's no fuel in North Wales. I can drive back on the same tank. Can't do that on my Sora. I simply can't. But a diesel, that could give you 40-something miles per gallon. I can get there and back. Every bit helps, as they say. My reason for bringing this up is that the people I deal with on issues of getting cars around the programme, some of them are on Twitter. Some of them are very good, and some of them are rubbish tweeters.
I mean, one of them who I suspect you might say is very good is someone who I also follow, Tom Barnard at Nissan. He's a very good, funny, interesting stuff.
One of the best.
Not always car-related, which is good.
Yeah, indeed. But one of the best.
I've known Tom for a few years because he is an ex-journalist. He used to work at Auto Express. And I know he doesn't like Formula One. So he'll have turned off this programme by now. Because he did say to me, why don't you talk more about cars? Yeah, you baldy You look like Alexei Sale.
He does? Does look like Alexei Sale.
He's probably still listened, though, just on the off chance that we're talking about him, and now he'll never speak to me again.
If you've followed Tom, you'll know this. You get a sense of what it's like to own and drive a Nissan Leaf. He talks about, I'm going shopping, I'm going to charge it here and stuff like that. And that kind of insight is genuinely useful.
Well, I'm not sure that the insight on how well the Nissan Leaf performs, according to a Nissan PR,
he might be biased.
Useful. But the thing about Tom is that because he's an ex-journo, I think he appreciates that he can't lay on the flannel too much because he's seen it from the other side and he knows that it's all a bit transparent. So, yeah, he's defending the Leaf quite a lot at the moment because it's their sort of newest car. But he would equally be at home defending his really knackered old Series 1 Land Rover that just permanently leaks oil and lets in water. So.
And it's got a rusty tailgate, if I remember.
That's it.
All stuff.
Well, you've really been paying attention.
Oh, yeah. This is the joy of Twitter. You do actually get flash frames of what's really going on in people's heads. You can't help but allow the truth to come through. You kind of filter what goes out there, but the truth comes out.
I would like to thank Twitter followers who gave me feedback on whether I should take the 3 points and the 60 quid fine or do the speed awareness course.
Yeah. And what did we decide?
I'm doing the speed awareness course.
Do you want to talk about this briefly?
Not really.
It's a Twitter issue. Okay,
go on. No, why not?
I don't know. When did you get... Was it Capsode?
Yeah. It was a camera, and I just hadn't noticed that I'd gone from a 40 zone into a 30, and I stupidly didn't notice that there was a camera there, which is really not a great excuse because it's pretty shoddy to not notice that there was a huge yellow camera by the side of the road when I drove past at 37 miles an hour.
So what you're going on...
fair cop.
But...
I'm going to do the speed awareness course.
No, you're not. You're going to do a speed camera awareness course. That would be more useful, wouldn't it?
I've been doing one of those for the last few years.
We'll have some flashcards made up and just, what's this? Yes, you're right, it's a camera.
Who's your favourite tweeter in the motor industry?
Road car stuff. Yeah, Barnard's good. There's a chap called Rob Halloway who's Mercedes-Benz PR man. He's very good because he loves to geek out. He loves to geek out, and we love to geek out. And he has a little Friday Facts thing going on.
Brilliant.
Where he tells you stuff about Mercs, but ultra nerdy stuff, the details that I think
ultra nerdy's good.
Suckle on his trivia teat. So he's very good. In general, obviously, official friend the show, Johnny Smith.
Yeah, car pervert. He's called.
Johnny's been a bit quiet recently, I think, but
yes,
he occasionally comes up with fantastically random things.
He had a big Porsche trip last week.
Yeah,
didn't he?
Chaz Hallett, who's now the editor of What Car, who's a mate of mine. He always has stuff going on. Tiffany Dell is quite an enthusiastic Twitterer as well.
I follow Martin Brown.
Quite outspoken.
Yeah, Tiff's quite outspoken, and is also quite baffling if you're like us and you don't really follow football, because sometimes he just veers off into going on about Southampton Football Club and I've no idea what's going on. I don't know, there's too many people to list really. When I first joined Twitter, which bizarrely, as we record this, tomorrow is my 2-year anniversary of being on Twitter. And I only know this because...
Is Twitter going to get you a present?
Well, there's some automated thing that sends you a note on Twitter and tells you. It's like a third-party thing. It's not through Twitter themselves, as far as I can work out. Okay. But sent me a thing today saying, it's your Twitter anniversary. And I looked it up and it says...
Twitterversary?
Once, and not that long ago, my TV colleague, Jeremy Clarkson, actually had a sort of fatherly chat with me and said, why are you on Twitter? You get paid for a living to write things. Why would you just give them away for free? You're wasting material and effort and brain power. And he was being quite serious. He was just genuinely baffled by Twitter. And then I discovered this week that, in fact, he's finally joined Twitter, slightly on the QT, and I think he wants to try and prove a point that it's rubbish. But I've just looked again this evening, and he's off doing on Top Gear live shows, and he quietly...
He's
writing.
quietly been tweeting away. Hasn't he?
I suspect, given the binary mind of Clarkson, that he will either dismiss it within a week or he'll become the world's most prolific Twitterer.
Can you tell us his name?
Okay.
I could if I could remember it. I thought he was doing it deliberately to prove Twitter doesn't work and he would cussedly use a pseudonym. But no, he's listed as his real name and his username is JCR Clarkson Esquire or something like that. He'll be really cross that I've said this now, though, because I think he wants no followers.
It would be surprising if somebody hadn't already taken Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah, many times and many
handle,
variations
and
of it. There are a lot of fake ones out there. And I spent a lot of time a while ago having to get quite cross against all these fake Top Gear presenters, and now we've got a clean sweep. They're all on there for the time being. So.
I don't follow any of them. I'm going to have to make.
Well, they
up for
don't.
that. Yeah.
Hammond doesn't do much. James just occasionally pops up and says that he's dismantling the cylinder head on an old motorcycle and goes away again. And that's why you know it's the real James.
Dismantle the cylinder.
You know it's the real James because there's some fake James and they're always talking about stuff. Yeah. And James just says something like, "I'm just off for a pint," and then he'll be silent for a week and then he'll just go, "Do you want to know how to get the spark plug out to the top of a Honda Cup 50?" And it's just like
it's good for that, though. Yeah. It's good for that sort of thing.
In terms of people who actually give you interesting information, then I would say, Brundle is great. And
Brundle's
a chap
quite
called
choice.
Craig Scarborough, Scarbs F1, who has a great blog type website where he does very technical detail. But the Twitter is sort of like he, as a lot of people do with blogs, uses Twitter to tell you when there's something new on his actual website. But he's very good, and he does other Twitter stuff, very insightful, incredibly so.
One of my favourites is Steve Matchett, who wrote the book Chariot Makers. He used to be a Benetton engineer who really knows his F1 from a technical point of view.
Yes.
And he gives a wonderful overview. He's one of the reporters for Speed TV, or has been, and he gives a wonderful overview of technical developments in F1 in a nice impartial way. I like him. But I'm going to get in real trouble for saying this now, but I'm going to say it anyway. The single worst tweeting entity representing the motor industry in the Twitterverse, is it called Fiat UK or Fiat Official or Official Fiat UK? Just empty.
Is it?
It's really empty. The joy of Twitter is that you get people telling you stuff. You know, you get a glimpse into people's minds. You know, they offer a bit of information that you would not have come up with. For instance, Rob Holloway at Mercedes, when he had a Unimog for the weekend, you shared that experience with him. You know, it was a joyful thing. The Fiat UK one is even worse than Imogen Thomas, who I follow. You know Imogen Thomas?
Oh, you're faintly obsessed with Imogen Thomas.
Other than get herself
the last time I was round here, I think I was on my way home and you texted me something from Imogen Thomas's Twitter feed. I still haven't bothered following her because I just can't bring myself to endorse her unique brand of
vacuity,
Welsh idiocy.
It's superb. I love her because she's Welsh, you know.
I know, but that's no excuse.
Not enough of a reason.
Just going,
the main reason.
Old Hitler, he was okay because he was Welsh. Oh, yeah, Adolf, the mass suppression of Jews and Gypsies. We used to call him in the village. It doesn't excuse someone just because they're Welsh.
Imogen.
She's a blithering...
It's so wonderfully hollow. Her typical tweet is, I don't know whether to have pizza or Chinese tonight. What do you think? And I swear, I get one of these from her every day, and it makes me joyful that my life is so rich.
You're just encouraging her.
I probably am, actually. That's the truth. Everybody look away, as Grace Dent says. You're just encouraging her. But the worst is Fiat UK, because Fiat UK don't tell you anything about their cars. And they must have wonderful things to tell you about their cars. What you get from Fiat UK is, hey, what's everyone doing with their Fiat for the weekend?
Oh, it's one of those. They've got a manual on social media, haven't they? I'll tell you what, actually, the Fiat Twitter feed could answer something that I'd put on Twitter the other day, but I was checking the oil on my Fiat 500, and I'd never noticed this before. There's a sticker on the underside of the bonnet that gives you all the, different fluids and what should be.
Oh, yeah.
And it's in different languages,
Good
but
idea.
the top one in 3 or 4 different languages is about the oil. And I read that the English bit, and it said, oil. We recommend you fill your car with oil.
Hey! That's about as informative as the Fiat Twitter feed is. You've been listening to Richard Porter.
Goodbye.
To Zog.
Goodbye.
And me, Gareth Jones. He's at Paul Ireson. He's at Sniff Petrol. And I'm at Gareth Jones TV. See ya.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site or follow us on Twitter, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whizbang.
Gareth Jones on Speed!